Welcome to One-on-One with Expert Flyer. I'm your host, Lisa Caslin, and welcome to our show. Today, we've got a really cool guest, Bobby Laurie. He is part of a dynamic duo known as the Savvy Stews. Welcome, Bobby.
Thanks for having me, Lisa.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So I know we did a little bit of a pre-show chat, and you gave me a tremendous download of information. But just so
Yeah.
the audience kind of gets to know you a little bit better, talk about the transition that kind of has occurred with your career and your partner Gailen's career from going from flight attendant to now, cable TV, travel celebrity talk show host.
Yeah, it's been kind of crazy, actually. I mean, everyone apparently missed the whole pre-show party, but I'm a former flight attendant. I actually I know you say resigned, but I retired, not so much, but back in March.
Yeah.
And I met my business partner and co-host Gailen actually at the Travel Blog Exchange years ago. And we both had travel blogs, and we decided, let's not be competitors. Let's merge them together and see what we can do. And that's how the Savvy Stews were born. And then we started traveling the world and filming TV travel segments for a national morning show, which is no longer, unfortunately. But as I mentioned earlier, everything happens for a reason. One of the anchors on that national morning show is now the co-host of our new show, The Jet Set, which is coming onto cable this coming spring. And yeah, it's going to be, it's been an interesting transition going from serving the Coke to now ordering the Coke.
Very good. What I find interesting is that, I mean, you have been able for multiple years been able to kind of pull off this double life kind of thing where I mean, were you planning your destinations and the shows that you were doing based on, okay, I know I'm going to New Orleans next week, so that's what the show's going to be about?
I wish it was that easy, but no.
Okay.
It really was funny. Actually, while I was employed, while I was employed at the airline, I really did have to have a double life because there's a lot of social media policies and media policies that the airlines have in place for employees where you can't talk about certain things. You can't talk negatively about where you work if that happened to come up. So I really was, this is my full-time job, and here's what I'm building on the side with Gailen and now Jessica. So it was interesting balance where, anytime we were on TV and had to mention where I worked, I always had Gailen do it. So this way it never came back to me.
Smart.
But what we definitely did was, where I worked, I was pretty senior. So I was able to bid off the time that I needed to go on location and do these segments and shows. So it really had nothing to do with where the airline flew, had nothing to do with my schedule. It was something completely different. And luckily we had, a good team in place to help us put it all together and help us arrive where we are now.
I love it. So you really have carved out a unique niche. So your claim to fame is you're like the first daytime kind of travel talkie show format, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's interesting because we had done Takeoff with the Savvy Stews, which aired on Destination America last year. And it was kind of a typical travel show where, you watched us experience these things and go along and travel around the world. And we took a step back and said, the show did really well, but it's not really the format that we were comfortable with coming from all these TV talk shows and morning news shows. So we took a look at what was out there, and actually Jessica has to be credited with the idea of, let's sit down and talk about it. There's no national show out there that you can sit down and watch a conversation about travel. There's a show out there, like we were talking about earlier on ABC, where you sit around and cook and you talk about food.
Yes.
There is other shows where you just sit around a round table and discuss what's happening, but nothing that was travel focused. So we decided to come up with that idea. Back in August, we filmed a test show down in Orlando, actually. And we were like, okay, well, let's see what happens. And we put it out there, and here we are. And now it's called The Jet Set.
Voila.
And the Jet Set, though, has a double meaning, I have to say.
Okay.
Gailen got his hands on a retired 747 and stripped it. We stripped it of the first class seats, the windows, and everything else we can get our hands on. And we've kind of used those pieces and built a television set around them.
Genius.
And that's, so you're watching The Jet Set, we're on the Jet Set, and we're actually on a jet set.
That is incredible. Well, you have to send us pictures because I want to take a look at that, and maybe we'll post it so
Definitely.
our Expert Flyer readers can take a look at it. So I guess you have a combined experience of 30 or 40 years, right? An incredible amount of knowledge.
Correct.
What is the number one question that amateurs ask you? What do they want to know? What do they pick your brain about most often?
Oh, it's funny. I mean, I would say, that it's the typical, I would say first time flyer questions. However, a lot of people who are fearful of flying, I get a lot of those questions, especially how flight attendants would handle that situation on the plane.
Yes, that is a good question.
Yeah. It's interesting because, it's not like you're taught anything specifically. It's not like, in training, they say, if someone comes up to you and says they're fearful, here's how you handle this, or here's what you tell them. It really all just comes from that particular flight attendant's firsthand knowledge of how they've witnessed other people get through it. I mean, aside from here's a glass of wine, does this help? But
yeah. That always helps.
Right, it always helps, especially when, my whole go-to line, especially when they're holding on during turbulence, is, you might be fearful sitting there holding on during turbulence, but had I been in your seat, it would rock me to sleep. Like, it's just, I'm just that comfortable with it, and you should be too. So just sit back and relax.
Well, I mean, I don't want to make this about, terror, because we're actually going to be doing a story on that coming up. But I do want to ask that question because I think the fears of, 5, 10, 15 years ago are much different today. And I would imagine that the way you have to handle it as a professional that's kind of shepherding people to their destination is modified because of that too, right?
Right. And like I said, I'll just reiterate it again. I'm no longer a flight attendant. I left back in March, but nothing has really changed much since March.
Yeah.
But it has changed. I mean, in the past, flight attendants were viewed as, it was this glorified position. It was very glamorous. You got to travel the world and you got paid to do it. And then, especially after 9/11, that changed. And it changed in the fact that now you're the first line of defense on an airplane. You're the people who are now looked at in that situation of help us. But before that situation occurs, you're also the face of the company. And when something goes wrong at the ticket counter, it ends up falling on you when you're in the cabin with the passenger. So you're kind of wearing two hats in that job as well, where you're the face of the company and you're going to hear every other complaint, but also you're looking at this suspicious activity over here in case it develops into something else, and who are you going to call upon to help you handle the situation.
Exactly.
So it's definitely been a restructuring, if you will, of where your mindset is. And you hear those captains that are really flight attendant focused and friendly say, they're here 90% for your safety and security and 10% for service. Mm-hmm. And it really has shifted that way, though more and more airlines are now putting a focus on service as well to kind of, beef up, because there's a lot of competition out there now. These airlines have gotten a lot larger. Mm-hmm. So now it's a true balance of, here's the good customer service, but we still have this eye open over here. And that's something that they really teach you, is just situational awareness.
Good. Okay.
I mean, a good example, honestly, is that Southwest flight that recently Indianapolis to Los Angeles.
Okay.
They witnessed people changing seats and they thought it was suspicious. So they just made the call to put the plane down. And at least the airline then backed the employees to say, hey, you made a call, you didn't feel comfortable, everyone's safe.
Yeah. And the fact that they were respected in their observation, I commend them for that. So talk about what's hot on your radar right now. So if somebody said to you, okay, Bobby, what's hot on your radar in terms of travel? Well, what did you think I said? So where do we want, maybe, pick a destination in, US and maybe, I don't know, Europe. Where do we go?
Where do we go? Well, let's see. In the United States, we've been, where have I been that we were, honestly, everywhere we go, we are really surprised, especially in the United States. Everywhere we go, we joke because Gailen gets there and the first thing he says is, I could live here. And it's like, that should be a show in itself. Can you live here? And he's like, all I need is a computer with, access to UPS front door delivery. And, we went to places honestly, that really surprised us was Springfield, Illinois. And we were at first like, oh, this is going to be a really small destination. And once we got there, it was amazing. There's so much history there that I don't think many people even realize. There was, it's where Lincoln was from. And they have a whole thing in the month of August where the whole town dresses up back in the time of when Lincoln was there. They call themselves the land of Lincoln. So you kind of immerse yourself in US history by visiting there. Plus the town itself, the city itself had so much to do, see and eat. It was a great place to visit.
Wow.
And I'm going to change what you said from Europe because I just got back from this place. I was really surprised by Colombia.
Oh, okay.
Really, really surprised.
South America, we
were there for a week. Yeah, it was a place that I wouldn't have thought of to go to at first.
Mm-hmm.
And we went there, and we went to Bardichara and Cartagena and also Bucaramanga. And there's a huge culture there that I wasn't even aware of. First of all, it's a big place for medical tourism. So you can go there, get some work done while you're on vacation and come back looking different. And there's a whole market. Yeah, there's a whole market there for United States citizens, actually. We actually toured a hospital and the hospitals were spotless. But then we went over to Cartagena and the history of the city behind the wall and how beautiful the homes were and the buildings were inside the wall, coupled with, of course, Colombian coffee. It was an amazing getaway.
Wow. Okay. Love that. Love that. So, we're going to have you back. There's, no ifs, ands, or buts. So what are your go-to, when we talk about technology, we obviously want it to facilitate our trip, make it a little easier. Are there apps, little tools that, you want to recommend to folks to make life on the road easier?
Well, I would say a lot of people, even if you book your tickets on one of those websites, I'm not going to name them, but, if you book your ticket on one of those big travel websites like Inorbitz and Expedia or Travelocity, it's always good to still download your airline's app because the airlines have really perfected how it works.
Okay.
You can go, even if you book the ticket on one of those websites, go ahead and add your reservation code into the airline's app. Delta is a very good example where if your flight is really delayed or canceled, immediately on the app, you can rebook yourself. No fees. Okay. So don't have to go wait in line at the customer service center. Just do it right away on your phone. I think American just rolled that out as well in their latest update. So that's something to keep in mind. Even though you booked your ticket elsewhere, you can still use all that stuff there. Mm-hmm. Google Maps. Mm-hmm. How do you get around without Google Maps? Mm-hmm. Especially now that they have the offline option. Mm-hmm. You can put in your phone now, you're going to go from point A to point B and that you're not going to have cell phone signal, especially if you don't have one of those international plans. And it'll download the directions and the maps for your surrounding area and store it on your phone so you don't need to be connected to get around.
Oh, that's great. So if you have your itinerary, you can kind of do all of that messing around beforehand and it's there. You don't have to worry about Wi-Fi or anything like that.
Exactly. And even for walking directions. So you can very well just put in where you're going to be in the, throughout the day while you're at your hotel, download the information and then just have it on your phone.
Love it. Okay. What about frequent flyer miles and taking advantage of rewards programs? You have any insights there? You think it's terrible? It's still okay?
No, it's funny. Well, let's put it this way. They're all changing. American just changed it for the upcoming year where now it's based on a little bit of what you fly and a little bit of how much you pay. And everyone's kind of going to the pay route.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of interesting. And I have to say, going from, like I said, serving the Coke to ordering the Coke, because I did get sucked into the mileage program. And, I found myself at gold on American pretty fast because I was traveling so much for the TV show. And then it got to the point where I was like, do I do this thing called the mileage run that I saw everyone doing, trying to get to that platinum status?
Yeah.
And then I did it. And then you get addicted to that status. So I totally get now what all my passengers were talking about then, because you're like, okay, I like the free upgrades. But I never went crazy and did the whole mileage run for executive platinum. Gailen did. He literally flew around the world. He flew to China and back just to get executive platinum. And I was like, what are you doing?
Torture.
Just spend the $200. Yeah, it really was.
Okay, enough said on that. All right, so just remind us again about the show Jet Set. It's going to be airing this spring on U2 America. Is that the name of the network?
Yeah, we are the Jet Set premieres March 5th on U2 America. and Soul of the South. They're both cable networks, so you can just check your local listings for it. We'll be on U2 America at 11 a.m. and Soul of the South at 4 p.m. on Saturdays. It's going to be a weekly show starting on March 5th, and we're really excited about it.
So excited. Can't wait to see you on TV more and more and more. So we want to have you back and keep in touch. Let us know what's going on.
Anytime.
All right. Have a great holiday too, okay?
Yeah, perfect.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.